All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another live video in my Facebook group, the Portrait Photographers Resource. For those of you, for those of you who are not tuned in live and you are watching this maybe on YouTube or something at a later date, please join my group on Facebook. It's a free educational group where we do lots of live videos just like this one and basically just share photos for critiques. A lot of other awesome things that we do basically just to grow the photography community and learn from each other. Today, I am going to do about, maybe a 15-minute video or so on a brief overview of what flash equipment I use and specifically what flash equipment I use at weddings and portrait sessions. So, if you are tuned in live right now and you have a couple questions, please feel free to post them in the comments and I will get to them as soon as I can. And if you are here, make sure you drop a quick hello so I can see you. And I am monitoring the comments to the right of me on this monitor. Okay, so as many of you know, I am a big flash user. I incorporate a lot of flash and specifically off-camera flash photography into my workflow. It's part of my style. Obviously, I don't use it for every single image, but there are many situations during a wedding day or a portrait session where using flash is so important. Just for some examples real quick, I use it a lot in environmental portraits to balance, the variance between a lot of highlights and shadows. And obviously, there are situations where the decision is removed from me, where I need to use flash, like in a dark reception area, or maybe even like a getting ready suite where there is absolutely no ambient light at all. And for those of you who are familiar with my portfolio, a big reason I use off-camera flash is because I just like creative lighting. I like to see the world a little bit differently. So, with that said, I'm going to just dive in to exactly what equipment I use. So I'm going to start with my most used piece of equipment, and that is the Geekkoto GT200. This is what it looks like. Basically, it is the same size as a Godox AD200, or some of you might be familiar with the Flashpoint version. But basically, here is a side-by-side comparison. And, really the reason I use Geekkoto is I think, while they are similar to Flashpoint and the Godox variants, I just like the design a little bit better. The battery is integrated up top. There's still a place at the bottom for a 1/4-20 adapter, so you can mount it to a cold shooter mount. And another thing I actually really like about this too is the screen, and it might be hard to focus, there we go. The screen is a lot clearer of a display. So again, the reason why I use these the most simply is because of their size and portability. If you are familiar with my portfolio and what I do for a living, you probably know that I'm shooting in the mountains of Colorado all the time, and I need powerful but portable flash units to really overpower the sun sometimes, or at least just balance those exposures and fill in shadows. So the reason why I like the GT200 is because it achieves all of that. Great size, great portability, great versatility, and more importantly, this price is awesome. They're under $300, and I usually carry about 3 of these with me on the day of a wedding. As I mentioned earlier, on the bottom, they have there's a slot for a 1/4-20 adapter, and I have one of the little Magmod adapters on here. So if I have a Magmod mag shoe on my light stand, I can just put that on there and I'm ready to go. And this is a very, very helpful piece of equipment as well, which is called, again, the mag shoe by Magmod. So this is my most used piece of equipment. I am going to dive into some other pieces of equipment that I use as well. One thing I've been using a lot of lately is this Geekkoto NLX 280. So it's a little bit bigger than the GT200, as you can see side by side. Little bit bigger. The nice thing about this NLX is it is 280 watts as opposed to 200 on the GT200. But what I really like about it is actually the round flash head. And the reason why I really like that is for a portrait situation. Sometimes having that wider flash area can really dramatically increase the quality of my light. And another really cool thing about this as well is while this can't fit a mag grip on it, which I will discuss in a second what exactly this does, it is magnetic right here. So I can actually put a mag grip on it. Or mag sphere. Hold on. Put it on backwards. You get the idea. It's hard to do it holding it in front of a camera, but really cool. Another awesome thing about this as well is I can actually take this little ring off and I can put a Bowens adapter on this. So if you are someone that has like a mag box, for example, and you don't want to use the mag ring, or you simply can't use the mag ring to mount this on because it's not set up that way, you can use a Bowens adapter to it to fit it to a lot of different speed lights and speed lights, soft boxes, and all that fun stuff. Okay, so moving on, another piece of flash equipment that I have that I don't bring on weddings, but I do use it for in the studio is this. Oops, almost dropped it. That would have been bad. Is this Geekkoto GT400. Now, as you can guess by the name, it is a 400 watt strobe. But what's really cool about this is it has a removable battery, so you can use it on location. But you can also plug it into a constant power source. So if you forget to charge your battery, or you simply just don't want to charge your battery, you can use it like a traditional studio strobe as well, which makes it super, super flexible. All right, moving on. Couple other things that I like to use when I'm on a wedding day. It is nice occasionally when I don't have the option to use off-camera flash. For example, let's say there's a group of, people during the wedding reception somewhere outside of where my lights are set up. I like to carry a speed light with me to get shots just like that. So I have the Geekkoto GTR. It's pretty cool. It's just like your traditional speed light. You can use it as a master flash as well, or as a remote. This particular speed light has a round head, which again, in certain situations can produce a lot better quality of light, or just a different quality of light than a traditional speed light head. And as you can see, the Magmod mag grip fits on here as well. So for those of you who are not familiar with Magmod, basically what Magmod is a light modifying system that allows me to shape and control my light. Basically, it allows me to get creative. So this mag grip essentially is an adapter that you can put on your speed lights or your strobe heads, and they're magnetic. So let me show you a couple of examples. So going back to the GT200, which again is my most used strobe, let's say I want to throw light everywhere, or I want to just maybe get a little bit of diffusion. So one of the tools I will use is called the mag sphere. So the mag sphere, aka a lot of people call this the mag boob. Well, for, ooh, that feels good. Just kidding. For obvious reasons. Again, this is a great tool for if you want to throw light everywhere, or you're just looking for a little bit of diffusion. This is a great tool to have. Next, probably my most used Magmod modifier is the mag grid. So occasionally there are situations where you will want to be very precise with your lighting. In those type of situations, the mag grid is great for exactly that, because what it does is it helps narrow your beam of light so you can be very specific with where you want to place it. You can also stack these too. So if you want to decrease the angle of your spread of light by stacking them, that will allow you to do so. By the way, as I mentioned, if you guys do have any questions, please post them in the comments and I'll get to them at the end of this video. Another piece of equipment I really like to use, speaking of being precise with lighting, is something called the Mag Snoot. I don't use this as much as the Mag Grid. However, it's a similar concept. You can direct your flash into a very narrow beam of light. So I use this primarily for ring or jewelry shots on the day of a wedding. And as you can see, it extends, and basically each notch either makes the light a little narrower or a little wider depending on how far you have it out. So great tool to have. Absolutely recommend it if you're someone that likes to get creative with off-camera flash and jewelry photos. So a couple other pieces of equipment I will also bring with me on a day of a wedding are, of course, the mag gels. These are the version 2 mag gels that actually just came out, and essentially what they do is they are colored, so they allow you to get creative with flash and add color to your light. So let's say, for example, using this, isn't a perfect example. This is a pink one. So if I wanted pink light, just put it right here over my flash head. And I can put pink light on a wall, on a subject, whatever I can do to get creative or whatever inspiration sparks up in my mind. And they come in a ton of different colors. The ones I use the most, though, and actually let me grab them real quick. The ones I use the most are the color correcting gels. So they have a couple CTBs. They have a full, a half, and a quarter. This will put some moderate amount of orange light on your subject. And then they also have CTBs, or I'm sorry, did I say CTBs? I meant to say CTOs, these are, which stands for color temperature orange. And then they also have CTB, which stands for color temperature blue. And that allows me to put some blue light out on my subject. So if I'm trying to do color shifts in the sky by adjusting my white balance, those are great tools to have for that. And then finally, the last piece of flash equipment I always carry around with me is something called the mag bounce. And I shouldn't say always, because I actually just started recently using this. It's not something I use all the time, but I have found that in certain situations, it's absolutely phenomenal to have. So essentially what it does is it essentially does exactly as the name implies. It bounces the light off this little whale tail thing here. So you put it right here on your flash. And this is great to have if you are in a situation where you have to have flash on camera. You can't use off-camera flash, but you want just some diffusion on it. I have seen some people use this as well off camera, almost as like a mini softbox, which is a great option as well. However, in that situation, I generally will use either a softbox if I have the luxury of being able to set it up and move it around, or I'll just use the MagSphere. So that's pretty much it as far as the flash equipment I use. One more time, the number one piece of equipment I use is the GT200 from Geekkoto. One other thing I do want to mention about these flashes that make them so cool is the fact that if you are someone that is like a Godox or a Flashpoint user, and I know there are a lot of you guys out there, you can actually use these in conjunction with those triggers. So all you need to do, right, is put it into Godox mode. So actually, I have this as default in Godox mode already. If I can get this to focus, I can show you. Let's see here. Yep, so you see that little A? That's denoting that it's in Godox mode. And if I want to go back to just Geekkoto mode, so it just works with the triggers, I just hold the plus and minus down, and now it's in Geekkoto mode. So very cool piece of equipment. Highly recommend it. If you want a little bit more information on, maybe the differences between the Flashpoint system and the Geekkoto system, I'm more than happy to have that discussion a little bit more in depth over a Facebook message or something. But long story short, I use Geekkoto exclusively now. I just like the range of their products a little bit better, and I actually have found them to be a little bit more reliable as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go through your comments real quick and answer some questions. John Hawking is asking if you can put a Magmod gel with the grid stacking them, and you absolutely can. The great thing about the Magmod system is you can stack, multiple modifiers. So, for example, all these magnets are sticking to each other. Okay. Oh, here's a CTB I was talking about earlier. Okay, so let's get this going here. So here is my GT200, and let's say I want to put a grid on here. Just put a grid on. I can put a gel on, and if I even wanted to, I could put a sphere on top of that. So you have a lot of flexibility with what you can do with the Magmod modifiers. Yeah, so Josh Adams is saying you can stack grid gel. Yep, you can stack a grid, gel, and sphere, just like I showed. So sometimes there are occasions where I will want to use a grid and a sphere because I might want the directional light that a grid produces, but I still want a little bit of the diffusion properties that the MagSphere offers. So that is a situation where I would use both on top of each other. Hey, Alyssa. So Alyssa is asking, what are my flash stands? Yes, I have a stand that actually has adjustable legs. It is called the Savage Multiflex. The Savage Multiflex is a light stand that you can actually use on uneven surfaces. So if you're someone like me, for example, that is here in the mountains of Colorado, it is a really, really helpful tool so you don't have to have an assistant hold a light for you. And again, that's called the Savage Multiflex. It is a little pricey. It's about $220 per stand. However, it has been an absolute game changer for me. It's allowed me to take photos of couples in locations that I absolutely could not get to if I didn't have an assistant. The other light stands I actually really like as well are called the cheetah stands. I'm sure you've all heard of them. Basically, what it is, it's an auto stand. So it allows me to pick up and put down my light stands quickly without actually having to open and close them manually. So, well, if there are no more questions, one other thing I wanted to mention to you all is if you are interested in one of these Geekkoto flashes, whether it's the GT200 or the NLX I showed you earlier, basically any Geekkoto product, I have a promo code that you are all welcome to use. If you go to the Geekkoto website, you can use the promo code LARA10 to get 10% off any of their products, which is super cool. I'll go ahead and share that in the group as well. But if you are someone who is interested in Geekkoto or maybe just wants to give it a try, please go ahead and use my promo code so you can try it out and get a little bit of a discount. So, as I mentioned, they work with the Flashpoint triggers and the Godox triggers, which is super convenient. And in my opinion, I have actually found them to be, or I should say in my experience, I have found them to be a little bit more reliable as well. So, hey, thank you so much, everyone who tuned in live. If you have any more questions, please feel free to just type them in this thread, this thread for the video that I have going on right now, and I'll make sure I answer them after the fact. So, again, thank you guys so much. Hope to see you all soon. I have a couple spots left for image submissions for the end of the month. So if you're one of those persons that has not submitted an image yet, please do so we can give you a live image critique. All right. Have a good one, everyone.